Yo, what's going on, folks? It's gonna be a shorter stream. I just wanted to show off OS 1.7 on the Rytm Mark 1 because I've noticed all the content on the new OS is on the newest Rytm, and they're very expensive. And I've had a Mark 1 for a long time, and I love my Mark 1. So, and I've never thought of picking up a new one quite yet. Maybe I will now with this new update because they've added a lot of great features that are specific to the Mark II. But I would like to show you what it looks like to use the new OS on 1.7. And I'm not incredibly familiar with it. I haven't been like crazy beta testing it. I did have the beta, but I didn't get to boot it up for very long before the launch, so didn't make a video or anything like that. But let's dive into it. Let's check it out. I had to bring the camera ISO down quite a bit. You're gonna stream about it this weekend? Right on, right on. I had to bring the ISO down on my camera quite a bit because the screen on the Mark 1s are really hard to pick up on camera. In fact, they're not awesome. They're not amazing screens. At one point, I thought this screen was completely burnt out, and then I turned it off for like a year. Literally, I turned this thing off for like a year, didn't turn it back on. Turned it back on, and my screen started working again. It was just like, it was healed. I don't know what happened, but let's take a look at the release notes, and then we'll kind of just go through the release notes as quickly as we can and see what it's like on the Mark 1. And you can make that comparison yourself to other people's YouTube videos on what it's like on the Mark II, because it is a different experience using the Mark 1 than it is on the Mark II Rytm. Mark II Rytm has a lot of quality of life improvements that the Mark 1 doesn't have, but the Mark 1 is my all-time favorite drum machine. This is my absolute favorite drum machine in terms of like that it synthesizes drums, and now it's definitely the best drum machine ever. This is a one-stop shop. You could take this in a DJ mixer or an Octatrack and just go ham. Of course, the Mark II is better for that, but there's something about the OG Mark 1, man. I love the Mark 1. I just like it more than the Mark II. That's just me, but I know there's a group of us who feel the same way about the Mark 1s. But yeah, let's take a look. I'm gonna pull up the OS changes, and we'll go to the instruments a little bit later. Let's take a look first at the Euclidian sequencer really quick. Okay, so that's the third one down. So Euclidian, I've already figured out the firmware for the most part. I didn't have the manual, so I had to I read the change notes and I went through and just played with it. Mostly last night before I went to bed, as I was doing the 2.5 hour calibration. But so everything was very intuitive. Electron does a great job of keeping things quite intuitive. Like, I wanted to find these different operations, and I found them all without needing a tutorial, meaning that they did it well. They did a great job of implementing these new features. Of course they did. We love Electron. What's up, user friendly? What's up, Circo? What's up, Kinga? Like a knife. Hello. Hysteric subjects. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, let's keep going. So let's look at the Euclidean sequencer. This is what it looks like on the Mark 1s. It's a different looking, everything's gonna look different on the Mark 1 than it does on the Mark 2. So you just hit the trig button to go in here, and you can turn on your Euclidean sequencer with your de-encoder. And if you're in the record mode, you can actually see the Euclidean steps as you put in your events start to populate. And then you have a second event parameter, and then you can have a rotation. You can't record this stuff, so I tried it. I tried record plus play to see if I could record these parameter changes on the Euclidean sequencer. And that is not a thing. I know that sound was super awesome, but pretty cool. So I love that there's this rotation. This is pretty common on Euclidean sequencers. You find this in Pamela's new workout in the Eurorack world. And then the idea that you actually have two Euclidean sequencers running at the same time is really cool. And then we have a full-on track rotation, which rotates both Euclidean sequencers at the same time. And then you have these Euclidean logic here. And so you have XOR, so I'm not going to go into explaining logic. The easiest one to understand immediately is going to be the sub one. So 1 is going to subtract from 2. So it's one or the other is going to play. But we're not going to go into the logic of the Euclidean sequencers. But they're pretty cool. Like, I like the idea that we have the logic ideas. This is something you could play with live. You could just be like, all right, let's do change how the Euclidean sequencer is performing in a live setting and immediately get a new pattern with a simple change. And it will be like a complex pattern because you can do some really crazy stuff with Euclidean sequencing. So that's the Euclidean sequencer. I guess if we put it, let's go over to here. It's on a per track basis, which is pretty cool. Here's a kick drum Euclidean sequencer. Check this out. Let's just mute that. And that didn't mute it. There we go. Oh, that's an effects mute. Interesting. Okay, cool. So yeah, that's Euclidean sequencer. It's fun to play with. That's about all I got to say about that. I'm excited that they added it to the Rytm. Hopefully they add it to all of the other Electron boxes. I don't know if it's something that I would use all the time in my music production, but it might help you get something started. I think it'd be really cool to use the Euclidean sequencer. And I haven't even checked. If we go to the Euclidean, where I have, let's get out of the mute mode. Whoops. If I can offset note values. Okay, cool. You can. Great. So another feature, we're already looking at it, is that they made it so that you can actually see the note value. So it's not just a plus number, an offset value. You can actually see what note's in here. That's awesome. I love that. They adjusted a lot of the synth engines, so the synth engines are all much better, and the tuning that they did on the oscillators improved the pitch tracking, which actually was an issue. I don't know if you know, like it definitely was an issue on Mark 1s. There was some pitch tracking issues, and now that pitch tracking is gone. So that's where that issue is gone. So I'm super stoked about that. Let's take a look at back to our list of changes. So you can now save a sound from a specific trig on the sequencer. This is so cool, and this was incredibly intuitive to me. I immediately understood what they meant by this. It was my very first guess, and I'm sure it was everyone else's first guess, hopefully. And let's do it with something else. Like change this to a new synth engine, maybe. Dual VCO. Let's go to Sci-Raw. I guess Chip's a more interesting engine because we already know. So sick. Okay, so if I like this sound, which you can layer a sample on top of, and this is another great feature, check this out. We can just go in here now and actually just hit yes. And it takes you to your sample slots, like to your audio files where you can load a sample. Before you had to hold function and hit yes while in this to get to this menu, and that was kind of annoying. So this is a welcome improvement. Straight into loading samples. I love it. My Rytm is like so much better now than it was before. So this is one of the other features that they added. But say like we wanted to save, like I parameter lock this synth sound. Whoa. Okay, say I like this sound and I want to save it as a sound. I just hold the step and hit the mute button, which is doubled as the sound button. And bam! It takes me right into saving a sound. And it saves with all the locks on it. That's so sick. I love that. And that was incredibly intuitive. Awesome. Okay, let's get out of this. Actually, I do want to keep that muted. So the next feature to talk about that's awesome is function chromatic scales. Pad scaling. So cool. On a per pattern basis. I like that. I wasn't even paying attention to that. I have per pattern scaling. Awesome. Yeah, keep that on. Check this out. I mean, this is cool to have. Frankly, I didn't need scaling on the Rytm because they had the chromatic pad layout, and I kind of like that, like, I could play accidentals in my music, which I still can. I don't have to turn this feature on. So I don't know how often I'll actually use the pad scaling like I would use the scaling in the other Electron boxes, because I definitely use scale mode on the Digitact and Syntact and Digatone all the time. But I treat the Rytm a little bit differently. The Rytm is kind of like this like techno box to me. So I kind of like I don't care about the scale as much as I don't mind going out of the scale. But I still think this feature's absolutely off the chain. This is rad to have. And really easy to turn on and off. Go back to chromatic. All right, let's take a look at some more features. We got a whole this is an incredible update. I'm very excited. I'm much more excited about this update than I am this thing, my silver box, my silver Syntact. This update is way cooler than a pretty box to me. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at some more. Okay, so we heard the side chip engine, which is amazing. That might be the best engine that they have added so far, because Sci-Raw is cool, but dual VCO to me is still more fun than playing on Sci-Raw, personally. But, you know, that's just me. Implemented functionality makes it possible to loop pages. So this is pretty cool. I like this feature. And this one was hard for me to figure out without... like, I had to mess around for a while to understand how to do this feature. I didn't think to hold page and select one of these pages, because you have 4 pages and you can have it loop. And if you have it going at half scale, you could have it loop like, you know, a long time. You could have each one of these pages be like a really long loop. But it's really that simple. I don't have any music like pre-programmed in here. We could just use all Euclidean sequencers and just get some stuff. Unfortunately, we don't have any music. Maybe I grab some sort of music. No. Just so hopefully there's a pattern on here. We have something. I have no idea what some of these crazy sounds are. Where are they even coming from? Okay, this actually isn't gonna drive me insane, so. It's looping page 3 of 4, which is very cool. This is a better example because it's not changing the pitch, so looping page 1 of 1. Okay, we just learned something. So I wanted to test and see what would happen if I changed the scaling of the track while it's looping, and I changed it to less than 16 steps, but it's still looping 16 steps. So it looks like page loop doesn't pay attention to our track scaling, which is interesting. I guess you could actually find a use case for that, I think, in a live setting, but I kind of thought that it would loop the step amount. You know, I would like to have it. Well, whatever. I'm not complaining. I'm stoked that we have the feature, but I did expect it to work differently. Well, learn something new, yeah? Yeah, isn't this wonderful that this update works on the OS, or this new OS update works on the Rytm Mark 1? Isn't that lovely? It makes me so happy. I was like, do I have to get rid of my Mark 1 and get a Mark 2 now because this OS update is so significant? And it turns out I don't. Because the only thing I'm missing on the Mark 1 is the performance knob macro, the like quick perform knob, and sampling. Of course, sampling is a big deal, but I oh, you just load all your favorite samples in here and play with the synth engines. I think that's not a bad workflow for the Mark 1, considering you can get one of these for pretty cheap. Just like you can get a Mark 1 Octatrack. I mentioned yesterday, you can get for like $500 a Mark 1 Octatrack. It's amazing. Okay, let's keep going. So we've looked at page loop. We've looked at Euclidean sequencing. We've looked at saving a sound from a specific trigger. The BT Classic, the pitch envelope parameter, don't care about that. Added 2 new pulse width parameters for the CB Classic and the CB Metallic machines. That's cool. Added slew functionality with the random LFO. This is cool. This is actually really cool. Let's see. Let's check this out. Let's find. Are we doing some random? Let's have it go to like the filter cutoff or something. I guess we could have it on trig. Random. So what does it say? It says that the wave parameter and the phase parameter. Okay. Let's give it some depth. Oh yeah, you can hear it. It's not like snapping. So here it is. It's doing like a very sample and hold type sound. And now it's smoothing. Oh, if I had this go to like the where was it? Oscillator. Let's try balance. That's pretty cool. That is actually really useful, the slewed random LFO. I dig that. I dig that. I could probably find some really cool use cases for that with sampling or with manipulating a sample. That'd be a good one. What's next? LED brightness, that's not something that came to the Mark 1s, which is incredibly sad because that's a feature I really, really wanted on the Mark 1 was to be able to adjust the brightness of the screen because I basically can't use this in any YouTube video. I had to bring the ISO down on my camera just to pick this up. It's very hard to get this on camera. So that sucks. It's now possible to see which parameter pages contain parameters with parameter locks when pressing and holding specific trigs in step recording mode. The parameter keys that contain the parameters will light up. So I was testing this feature out and it didn't work as I thought it was going to work. So like, let's lock some stuff. Just lock some random stuff. What I've noticed is that when it locks, it's actually showing me the value, but it's not like lighting. I thought what it meant is that it would light up these buttons. You know, like when I held this down, I thought it would say like if I parameter locked multiple things, right? I thought that it would say like, it would be like a light colored button LED or something. Like synth is lit up just barely and amp is just lit up just barely, letting me know that I have parameter locked in those menus. And maybe that is that way on the Mark II. I don't have a Mark II. and I haven't watched every Mark II video out there on the OS 1.7, but that's not how it works on the Mark I. So on the Mark I, what it does is it displays the number value as opposed to just having it be a block of dark. That is how it works on the Mark II. Yeah. Yeah, that's that does make the Mark II really cool, because that's how it works on the Octatrack, and the Octatrack's way old. It's older than this, and it works on the Octatrack that same way. That's a bummer. At least on here you do get, you know, you can see that you've got accent and stuff on a per trigger. So that's nice. I mean, that's always been there. That's not new. You know what I don't know, and forgive me if I'm being a Rytm noob right now, is when I hold down page, it switches over to the effects track. I think what this is doing is it's muting a track from going to the effects track and not muting a track. And I guess I hadn't really ever paid attention to this, or this didn't exist before. I'm not sure if this is new or not. This is the page. No, I know that this is the page looping thing. Oh, I can exclude tracks from page looping? Is that what that means? Let me see. We're going to loop page 1. Oh! I didn't even know how that works. That's sick! That's actually way cooler than I thought it was. All right, all right. Just pulled my Rytm out and updated it. Right on, dude. Okay, that's really cool. Well, I'm glad you guys are here to help me walk me through this fantastic update. This shit's bonkers. All right. What's the next dope thing? We've gone through most of the cool stuff. We need to go take a look at some of these synth engines. Unfortunately, this stream has to be pretty short because I'm teaching Octatrack lessons very soon. Okay, wait. Sorry, hang on. No parameter and trig now shows the value and the number in semitones. Yes, we saw that. We love that. Improve the naming of the dual VCO impulse and noise gen machines by adding a machine type group naming. The new names are side dual VCO. Okay, I got it. That's not interesting. So the sample start and end parameters are now high resolution. It's also possible to snap integers to start and end parameters. This, together with now showing true integers in the display, makes it easier to find the exact start and end points in samples, specifically in longer samples such as sample chains. Oh, right. As sample chains. I like how they're paying attention to the workflow, the Electron workflow that folks have kind of like developed over time. Like they're like in the manual now, they're talking about sample chains. Sample chain is not like it's not implemented in any sort of device or anything, but they're acknowledging that that's what we do to save space or to save slots, which is cool. I like that Electron's keeping up with that. Let's take a look at the start and end parameters. So let's go over here. I'm just going to mute everything but this track. Bring the synth engine down and the sample engine. We will grab a loop if I have any. I probably don't have any loops. What's in the incoming? Nothing. IDM pack. Come on. 80s moms pack. Oh yeah, I took these from that sounds pretty cool. I took these from the Polyend Play, or did I can't remember. Okay. Let's take a look at the sample start points. Doesn't look any. I don't know why that just popped up. That's not good. That menu shouldn't have popped up with me not touching anything. As far as I can tell, this doesn't really look any different on the Mark I. Maybe they couldn't change the resolution, but like on the Digitact, you have a decimal point when you're going through sample, start, and end point. So this doesn't seem to have changed on the Rytm. Also, when I push down on my encoder and try and move this, it's not moving any faster. Yes, the new update works on the Mark 1, but not everything works on the Mark 1. So I'm not like, this should move through the parameters super fast. If I hold function, it does have like some weird snapping functions where it does move quicker through here, but like it just jumped all the way to the endpoint. So I'm not seeing a difference here. This looks the same to me. So I guess Mark 1 users don't get the super high fidelity sample manipulation. Maybe that's strictly a Mark 2 thing. That's okay. I'm just happy that the Mark 1 gets anything, honestly. Like, I thought Mark 1s would not get any more updates. Yeah, Mark 2 does it sound different? Whoops. Sounds awesome. I know that. I don't know if it sounds any different, though. So that's a bummer. Mark 1 does not get that feature. Let's keep looking. I'm glad that I'm doing this stream, honestly, because I think probably quite a few people want to know how well this works on the Mark 1. There's a lot of people with Mark 1 still out there. Improved screen UI navigation for the machine selection list in Sound Manager. Not on the Mark 1. I don't think so. Several analog machines are now scaled in semitones and with high resolution. Several analog machines. Let's take a look at some of those analog machines. Implemented minor improvements to the LED color scheme. Probably not Mark 1. Data entry knob to assign. It is now possible to click the data entry to assign a sample. We already figured that part out. That's dope. Added the functionality that when selecting an empty sample slot and pressing yes now opens the plus drive. What's the difference between that and is now possible to also click in to assign a sample from the sample list that is opened with accessing the sample parameter to the sample page? Wait, it is now possible to also click data entry to assign a sample from the sample list that is opened. Okay. Oh. I guess that's cool. Do you want to see that? I'll show it to you, I guess. So you can go like this. You can open this and I can go hi-hats. Instead of hitting yes, I can just push down. So a little workflow improvement. Not a huge thing. Cooler than it was before. There's no doubt. No doubt it's better than it was. What else do we got? I think we've gone over most things. I guess it's time to just look at the synth engines. I mean, all these features, like, are just all really fantastic as a whole. Some of them are very, very small adjustments that I don't know if I'll notice the difference, but I'm sure somebody will. I don't use my Mark 1 or use my Rytm as much as I use a lot of my other Electron kit. And that's partly because I really like pattern mutes, and the Rytm doesn't have pattern mutes, so I avoid it sometimes with my live music workflow, because I like when I move to a new pattern and all the patterns are in this position that I want them to be, which you can kind of cheat on the Mark 1 by using copying kits and then bringing the volume down to 0 so that you just have to manually bring the volumes up. Added a square waveform as a parameter value for the wave. Okay, I guess let's take a look at some of the synth engines, shall we? We've gone over all the cool things. I haven't gotten to play with Hi-Hat Lab, so that's the one that I'm the most interested in right now because I have not tried it. So let's go over to a hi-hat engine and try Hi-Hat Lab. Here we go. This is what a Hi-Hat Lab looks like on a Mark 1. So sad. So sad, because I saw what it looks like on the Mark II, and it looks so cool. Mark II has those amazing graphics. We don't have graphics on the Mark 1, so we just have numbers. Let's hear it. Do we have a sample playing? There we go. Is this just like a six oscillator digital engine with that are just FMing each other? I think so. This is what this sounds like. It just sounds like there's a bunch of FM going on here. EasyBot, I use lots of -fill dot parameters. Okay. Well, that's cool. The page loop and the page transpose on the A4 would be so handy. Oh my god, you're so right about that, Tape Pusher. That's very true. Slew on the LFO for Mark 1. Yes, user-friendly. There is Slew on the LFO for the Mark 1. They did... Well, you mean on the random LFO. Because they didn't add it to all the LFOs, right? There's not Slew on all of them. Because the LFOs, there's not much going on the LFO page on the Mark 1. We got one LFO, and that's it. That's all you see. We don't have any Slew or any extra parameters. Yeah, just the random. Yeah, it works. With the start phase. Does Slew it. Yeah, it works pretty well. So this is hi-hat. Lab. Very, very metallic sounding. Like extremely metallic sounding. This UI is insane. I don't know how to play with that. It's like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. Let's live record it. Banger. Look at all these oscillator frequencies. One LFO. Can we do all of them? No. That's awful. I'm not going to make you all listen to that. That is a terrible sound. Go away. Get out of the mute mode here. All right, so that's Hi-Hat Lab on the Mark 1. It's cool. UI, not so cool. But it is cool. Stoked to have a new engine. I like, as far as like drum sounds go on synthesizers, I think the best synth engine for drum synth sounds on any Electron box is the hi-hat cymbal engine on the Syntakt. I think the cymbal engine on the Syntakt, and one of the particular parameters, it really sounds like an actual ride, where I'm incredibly impressed. It is one of the best sounding synth engines for drums that I've heard yet. On the Mark 1, I would have loved to have seen that engine get brought over to, not sorry. I would love to have seen that engine brought over to the Analog Rytms, because those cymbal engines they're really dope. And did they bring them over? Am I missing something? Hang on. Let's take a look. Side chip, side raw, BD acoustic, SD acoustic. Okay, no, they didn't bring it over. I would, oh man, I love that. I love that cymbal engine from the Syntakt, man. I wish they brought that over. That would have been cool. Side chip is really dope. We already know Sci Raw, because Sci Raw is from the Syntakt. So I'm not too interested in even checking that out. We can, but let's check out bass drum acoustic and snare drum acoustic. And then maybe we'll jump back over to Sci Raw, because that stuff's pretty cool. All right, here's our bass drum. Cool. Oh! My first time hearing it. It does sound more like an acoustic bass drum. It sounds a lot like the Syntakt bass drum. Ooh. Could get some cool stuff with this. That does sound like an acoustic bass drum. Holy shit. There was a little delay when that came back in. That was weird. I feel like there's gonna be a hotfix update for this firmware. All right, let's check out the snare drum engine. Damn. Dramatic mode, pad scale. Let's go Mixolydian. Did I not record that? It was still on page loop. Interesting. So, okay. You know what kind of sucks is that you can't have a track, you can't turn off LFO trig, I don't think. Maybe you can, and I don't know about that, but I don't think you can turn off LFO trig. Maybe you can in the LFO section. Oh, LFO trig. Oh, ooh, never mind. Oh, but it's a master selection. But I guess we could sequence that. So if I put a step down, okay. Okay, LFO trig on, LFO trig on. All right, let's check it out. We can sidechain on the Rytm. Let's see if we can pull this off really quick. And then turn a LFO trig off. Go out here, go to the LFO destination, amplitude, volume. And we want our wave to be an exponential wave with a negative depth, with trig mode 1. Multiplier, I think 16 will work. Yeah, we got sidechain ducking on the Rytm. I hadn't tried this yet. I'm glad it's here. Let's duck these hats too. Copy page. It's going a little too strong. Sorry, I'm getting lost in there. Pretty dope. Gotta love having pads. Having pads to play is so much fun. Did we miss anything? Did we miss any part of the update? This is OS 1.70 on Rytm MK1. It's got almost all the features from the Rytm MK2 OS update, but not quite. Not everything. Definitely can't do the graphic interface, and it is missing a couple of the features like the fidelity with the sample start and end time. That's a bummer. Maybe they just can't fit enough. I don't know. There's room for a decimal point on here. I'm bummed that I didn't get that. That's a huge update, and I'm a little bummed that's not on the MK1. But you know, you can't complain about it because you could just get a MK2, I guess. But it's a big guy. Recording quantized to steps. Recording quantized to steps. Wait a second. Added the possibility to a specific number of sequencer steps as a record length in the sampler. So that's not something I can show off because you can't do that on the MK1. I don't see that. I don't see anything else when it comes to recording quantized steps. So maybe that's not a thing. Lots of bug fixes. But I wasn't... loud click could be heard during the startup of the device. I wasn't having that problem. Implemented functionality that made it possible to loop selection patterns. We got that. Added the sharp square waveform as a parameter value. Oh. They added the sharp waveform, or added a square waveform in the sharp machine. For whatever reason, I was like, they added a sharp waveform in the sharp machine. I was like, that would be kind of silly if you didn't have that. Yeah, that's it. That's all the stuff. I think we should spend the rest of our time here looking at the chip machine, because the chip machine is the most interesting machine that they added. This acoustic. These drums are the acoustic engines. I think these are really good. Which we had on the Syntact. I'm gonna sample down. Let me go back in and turn off like all this compression and crazy stuff I had going on here. Oh wait, what did I just do? I turned off the volume. There we go. So with an LFO, up with that? Oh, I gotta do the decay here. This is one of my complaints about these engines is that they add the decay parameter to the synth engine, and we have the amp. I mean, it's nice to have multiple envelopes for volume. Like I like that, but I would kind of like it if this was just set at infinite all the time, and then I just do my adjustments here. All right, filters all the way open. Okay. Just give me half a bar. That's pretty cool. That random smoothing, Slew. Oh, I'm digging. This engine's where it's at, dude. What is this crazy stuff? Table? All right, let's map the LFO to this pulse width parameter here. This is too cool. Synth? Yo, where's my parameter? Offset 4 waveform? There we go. Oh, wait. We'll screw that up. This needs to go over here. Wait a second. Where can I use that synth engine? Is that synth engine only available on those? Well, I had a fun idea where I was gonna duplicate it. I guess we could do it on the snare. Let's just kill the snare track, I guess. Copy, paste, function copy, paste. Here we go, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Dueling chip engines doing arpeggios, panned hard left and hard right. That's pretty cool. Should we hear how this sounds if we rumble kick it? Rumble kick it. Oh. sound like that. That's why. Oh, wow. That was gnarly. That was a gnarly... That roll that I played by hand, that did not go well. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I gotta go. But I did want to show it off on the Rytm Mark 1 because I know that it's important that we see the difference between the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 so that you can decide, do I want to pick up a Rytm right now and get a Mark 1 or get a Mark 2? Both of them are going to be pretty good choices, but we do now know the differences between this OS upgrade on the Mark 1 versus the Mark 2, and they are significantly different, I would say. There's quite a few more upgrades on the Mark II than there are on the Mark 1. However, the upgrades that you do get on the Mark 1 are definitely worth keeping your Mark 1 around for. The chromatic scaling is really good. Just the quality of life features for loading samples, the page looping. I guess the page looping and the chromatic scaling is in the new engines are the really big features in general, but those are the features that made it into the Mark 1. Some of the other cool features did not make it into the Mark 1. So that part's a little bit of a bummer, but I hope this helped you decide which one that you want to get, if you're going to pick up a Rytm or just got you excited to get home from work and install this firmware on your Mark 1. My name's Matthew, aka EasyBot. Thanks for hanging out with another live stream. And I'll see you in a couple days, maybe. Join the Discord, hang out, have a good time. Y'all are the best. I love you. I love you so much. Have a great day.